This is the Louisiana Hometown Network, bringing you public information, coverage of the monthly meeting of the Louisiana Board of Regents for Higher Education and the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, also known as BESSE.
Today, we're here recognizing 23 of our environmental leadership members for projects that they have done during the past year, projects promoting pollution prevention, community environmental outreach, and we also have one that's representing environmental management systems. So we're here to celebrate today. We have members that are businesses, which are small, medium, and large. We have federal entities that are in this program, municipalities, non-governmental organizations, as well as schools and universities. And total membership is right under 200. And we go out and recruit every year to get members to come on board because they've been doing some outstanding things in the community. And this is a voluntary program. We have to emphasize that these things, these projects that these companies, these entities are doing, they are voluntary. They're not required by the regulations. There's no mandate to get them done. They're just voluntarily doing these things to promote pollution prevention in our state. They're working along with us, and we want to recognize them for their efforts. And that's what this program is all about, recognition for their projects, for the work that they're doing to help Louisiana be a cleaner and better environment.
Can you tell us a little bit about the awards themselves and why they're so important?
They are important because, once again, they're voluntary projects. We've got 23 awards being presented today in the categories of pollution prevention, community environmental outreach, and environmental management systems. Those are our three main categories. And we have large, medium, and small businesses. We have municipalities represented today, non-governmental organizations. We also have some schools and the university here as part of our membership. My name is Linda Hardy, and I'd like to welcome you this afternoon to our 2015 Environmental Leadership Program Awards Ceremony. I'd like to, at this time, introduce the Deputy Secretary, Dr. Alexander Apini, who will introduce our presenters. Dr. Apini?
Thank you, Mrs. Hardy. And our first presenter, everybody's well familiar with her, but I think she deserves this. Her leadership philosophy, and I always get excited when I speak about this. She believes that we can have that environmental protection and a vibrant economic development program. Her public service is exemplary. Her business approach is proactive. Her compass for fairness is impeccable. A core principle she always speaks about, keeping the field level, that level playing field, always speaks about it. Customer service, Peggy delivers that with a smile. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our secretary, the Honorable Peggy Hatch. Secretary Hatch, if you Our next presenter, and I want to put this caveat, I'm listing these ones in alphabetical order. Yes, sir, I do. He proudly represents the people of District 52 in the Louisiana House of Representatives. He is fully committed to making District 52 and the great state of Louisiana a better place to live and work for all the residents of our state. He serves as the chairman of the House Natural Resources and Environment Committee that has oversight for the Department of Environmental Quality. He's the chairman, he's a business owner, he is part of the E2 philosophy, environmental protection, yes, economic development, yes. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to call him a friend of the department. Without further ado, the chairman of the House Natural Resources and Environment Committee, the Honorable Gordon E. Dove, Sr. And I would be remiss, every chairman always has a fantastic staff, and we have two of the best from Chairman Dove's committee, and I want them to stand for a brief moment. Ms. Sue King, the Policy Manager, Director for House Natural Resources, and Tyler McLeod, Senior Attorney, good friends of DEQ. Let's give them a round of applause. And finally, last but not least, he proudly represents the people of District 33 in the Louisiana Senate. He is committed to making District 33 and this great state a better place to live for all the people of our great state. He serves as chairman of the Senate Environmental Quality Committee, which has oversight over DEQ. He is what I personally call a change agent. He doesn't wait for things to happen, he makes them happen. So ladies and gentlemen, our friend, the Honorable Senator Mike Walsworth. Let's give him a round of applause. And on that note, there you go. Let the program begin. Mrs. Hardy.
Thank you, Dr. Apini. Today's ceremony will recognize the accomplishment of the ELP membership this past year and also introduce our newest members. But a few housekeeping items first. The restroom facilities are located behind this wall to my left. If you have a parking ticket, we have validation at the back table. If you have your blue parking ticket, if you've not dropped it off, please drop it off at the back table and we'll get it validated for you. Also, let's talk about the ceremony flow. In order to enhance the flow of today's ceremony, I will share a brief summary of the project and then invite the member and any accompanying guests to step forward and have a picture with our presenters. So at this time, I want to also let you know that today's ceremony is being videoed for future broadcasts on cable network, and copies will be made available to our award winners at a later date. So having that said, let us begin with our first award for the afternoon. Harry Hurst Middle School, Wetland Watchers. You may step forward. The Harry Hurst Middle School Wetland Watchers is receiving the ELP Special Recognition Award in Community Environmental Outreach for the Service Learning Project. This school-based team consists of a core group of 250 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students who participate in a variety of service activities to improve their local habitat and community while raising environmental awareness for wetland issues throughout outreach activities. The students lead field trips, host community events, and participate in numerous events, including the St. Charles Alligator Festival, Baton Rouge Earth Day, Audubon Zoo Earth Fest, among others. Congratulations, Harry Hurst Middle School Wetland Watchers. Our next award will be presented to Eagle US2 LLC out of Lake Charles, Louisiana, for the solids removal from indeterminate phase project. Eagle is receiving the Environmental Leadership Award, Large Business Achievement Award in Pollution Prevention for the solids removal from indeterminate phase project. This project began as a pilot study with a goal to treat the emulsion-like sludge mixture of chlorinated organics, water, and dirt or clay material, IP, which is generated in the clarifying system of the waste treatment unit. As a result of their project, 360 pounds of chlorinated organics were recycled. Congratulations to Eagle US2. The next award will be presented to Marathon Petroleum out of Garyville, Louisiana, for the Dock 5 Loading Arm Emergency Release Systems. Marathon Petroleum is receiving the ELP Large Business Achievement Award in Pollution Prevention. The Emergency Release Systems project is a device that's attached to the end of the transfer loading arm and enables the vessel and loading arm to safely break away from one another while at the same time isolating the product that's being transferred and prevents it from spilling. Congratulations, Marathon Petroleum. The next awardee is Rubicon out of Geismar, Louisiana. They are receiving the ELP Large Business Achievement Award in Pollution Prevention for the Aniline Complex Benzene Recycle Project. This project recycled a benzene-containing waste stream by installing piping, process instrumentation, and utilizing a spare vessel already located in the aniline complex. Approximately 530 pounds of benzene have been recycled due to this project. We want to say congratulations to Rubicon and Geismar, Louisiana. They are receiving the ELP Large Business Achievement Award in Pollution Prevention for the Energy Management and Conservation Project. The project focused on reducing the loads on the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, thereby leading to carbon dioxide reduction of over 9 million pounds. Our next awardee is Valero Refining out of Norco, Louisiana. They're receiving the ELP Large Business Achievement Award in Pollution Prevention for the Waste Minimization Program. The objective was to find alternative disposal options for several refinery waste streams. Approximately 3 million pounds of hazardous waste clarified slurry oil sediment was collected and used in a cement kiln as fuel. Over 3 million pounds of non-contaminated soils were reused by 2 landfills for daily cover. The program minimized the amount of waste shipped off-site by implementing consolidating general trash and oily debris. We want to say congratulations to Valero Refining. Our next awardee is Baker Hughes. Baker Hughes is receiving the Large Business Recognition Award in Pollution Prevention for their pollution prevention program. The goal of this program was to reduce the resource use, including water, energy, and associated greenhouse gas emissions by 10% year on year. Baker Hughes facilities were able to achieve a 41% reduction in waste sent for disposal, 8% reduction in electricity use, and an 18% reduction in natural gas consumption. Congratulations to Baker Hughes. They are receiving the ELP Large Business Honorable Mention Award in Pollution Prevention for the Natchitoches Recycling Center project. By partnering with the City of Natchitoches and Progressive Waste Solutions, Alliance Compressors established a recycling program that provided residents living outside these city limits the opportunity to drop off recyclable materials 7 days a week. We want to say congratulations to Alliance Compressors. They also submitted a second project. They're receiving the Large Business Honorable Mention Award in Pollution Prevention for the Energy Conservation Project. 2 projects regarding energy conservation and efficiency were implemented that reduced carbon footprint. They installed a variable speed frequency drive on the wheel chiller circulation pump and installed airflow meters on the air compressors and air feeds, thereby causing a reduction of 350,000 pounds of carbon dioxide and over 1.6 million kilowatt hours of energy at a cost savings of over $114,000 per year. Congratulations, Alliance Compressors. Our next awardee is Stuhler out of Lafayette, Louisiana. They are receiving the Large Business Honorable Mention Award in Pollution Prevention for their plastics recycling program. They're an innovative wholesale jeweler manufacturer, and they're promoting environmental sustainability and corporate responsibility. Congratulations to Stuhler. Our next award winner is ExxonMobil Polyolefins, Plastics, Specialty Compounding, Resins Finishing Plant here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They are receiving the Large Business Recognition Award in Community Environmental Outreach for the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, the Ambassadors Committed to Education, and the EM Community Outreach Team. ExxonMobil volunteers remain committed to partnering with local schools and the community to promote STEM awareness and encourage students to be more environmentally aware. Congratulations, ExxonMobil. The next award will be presented to Marathon Petroleum out of Garyville. They are receiving the Large Business Achievement Award in Environmental Management System for the Gas Detecting Infrared Camera Monitoring Program. Marathon met the challenge to integrate the use of infrared cameras as a leak detection tool in their benzene NESHAP monitoring and leak detection and repair programs. Congratulations to Marathon Petroleum. The next awardee is Nalco Champion out of Garyville, Louisiana. They're receiving the Medium Business Recognition Award in Pollution Prevention for the Condensate Return Project. The goal of this project was to maximize the amount of steam condensate returned to boiler operations. Congratulations, NALCO champion out of Garyville, Louisiana. The next awardee is the Capital Area Corporate Recycling Council here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. CACREC, is receiving the ELP Small Business Achievement Award in Pollution Prevention for their electronic recycling program. CACRC works closely with businesses, agencies, municipalities, and individuals to provide an alternative to sending electronic materials to landfills. They held 27 recycling events across the state in partnership with local communities, businesses, and media sponsors. Congratulations, Capital Area Corporate Recycling Council. The next award will be presented to Marco Ecosystems. They're receiving the ELP Small Business Achievement Award in Community Environmental Outreach for the Isle de Jean Charles Floating Island Project. Martin Ecosystem strategically installed floating islands in the Port-au-Chien in Terrebonne Parish. It's a narrow roadway ridge of land between Bayou Terrebonne and Bayou Port-au-Chien that's gradually disappearing. The primary goal of the project was to protect the existing sections of fragile marsh from further erosions. Congratulations to Martin Ecosystems. Our next award will be presented to Advanced Specialized Carriers in Pineville, Louisiana. They're receiving the Small Business Honorable Mention Award in Pollution Prevention for the Pollution Prevention and Beneficial Reuse Project. They recycle oily water, soapy water, ink wash water, and used oil. Congratulations to Advanced Specialized Carriers. The next award will be presented to Country Club Auto Repairs and Bentley's Collision. They're receiving the Small Business Honorable Mention Award in Pollution Prevention for their pollution prevention program. The next award is St. Landry Parish Solid Waste Disposal District in Washington, Louisiana. They're receiving the Municipality Achievement Award in Pollution Prevention for the Composting and Wood Waste Diversion Project. St. Landry Parish is home to many large equine facilities that make up a large part of the local economy. They're responsible for 30,000 cubic yards of clean wood waste ground to 75% materials that was delivered to the manufacturing sector, uses boiler fluid, fuel, and also distributed to local residents. We want to say congratulations to St. Landry Parish Solid Waste Disposal District. The next award winner is the Port of New Orleans. They're receiving the Municipality Recognition Award in Pollution Prevention for their stormwater management program. The Port initiated a comprehensive stormwater inspection and outreach program, which has resulted in port-wide stormwater compliance audits for over 50 facilities, tenants, and operators. They perform storm drain marking events, training and awareness building in hazardous materials and spill prevention and response, as well as stakeholder outreach and innovative solutions. Congratulations, Port of New Orleans. The next award will be presented to the town of Woodworth in Woodworth, Louisiana. They're receiving the Municipality Honorable Mention Award in Pollution Prevention for the first green school in the central Louisiana area, as well as the first school within Woodworth city limits. The school is energy efficient by using solar panels, and it regulates the temperature and lighting via computers. We want to say congratulations to the town of Woodworth. The next award, St. Landry Parish Solid Waste Disposal District in Washington, Louisiana. This is their second award. They are receiving the Municipality Achievement Award in Community Environmental Outreach for the Upper Elementary Environmental Literacy Program. They worked in partnership with the school board. 5 specific lesson plans were developed for 5th grade school teachers that encourages students to reduce the volume of waste going to landfills and also to patronize the local school and community through recycling centers. Congratulations again to the St. Landry Parish Solid Waste Disposal District. Our next award will be presented to the Kenilworth Science and Technology Charter School here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They are receiving the School Honorable Mention Award in Pollution Prevention for the Smart Coastal Protection Project. It's a mentoring program at KST that partnered with LSU Department of Civil and Environmental Engineer to work on a small-scale study that would help reduce pollution by finding an alternative to limestone consumption for building coastal protection structures. We want to say again, congratulations to the Kenilworth Science and Technology Charter School. Our last award will be presented to Louisiana State University for the Tigers to Club Stormwater Pollution Program. It's the University Recognition Award in Pollution Prevention. In this initiative, the LSU Campus Sustainability Office partnered with the University Lab School to conduct a stormwater pollution prevention activity involved in teaching high school science students about pollution of watersheds and making storm drains around the LSU and lab school campuses marked. Congratulations to the LSU State University. Lastly, we would like to recognize two of our new ELP members that are here with us today. It's the Port of New Orleans that came this year and came on board at the Environmental Leadership Program. We want to welcome them with their membership certificate, Port of New Orleans. Our last certificate presented this afternoon will be for the new member, Town of Woodworth. Congratulations.
Sometimes when you're the chairman of the Senate Environmental Quality, you get a little where you can bump people and say, hey, I need to do this. Let me just tell you, this will be the last time that a really good friend and a friend of not only the environment but natural resources, Gordy Dove is term limited out, and this will be his last one. And he's been a great friend to this state and especially to the coastline. And I want you, if you will, rise and give him a standing ovation for the job that he's done over the last 8 years.
I'd like to recognize a couple of people. First of all, we have members of the ELP Steering Committee to please stand, those that have joined us today. Let's give them a round warm applause. They volunteer their time and effort to work with us in reviewing these projects. We want to say to them, thank you so much again for your kindness. Also, some of the DEQ staff that have worked to make this program a success. Marissa Jimenez, Tamika Prelude, Jean Kelly, Ursula Anderson, and also, I don't see her, she has left, Rashima Green Palms. They worked with me to develop this, to get this program and bring it off to the point where everybody's excited, and we hope to see all of them working again. Thank you. And lastly, to our award winners, you may pick up your boxes here to carry your awards home in. I'd also like to make one announcement, and that is on May the 13th, we will have our annual ELP networking event here at DEQ. So we're asking and urging all of our ELP members to come out and visit with us. We're going to have a great time. We want to talk about the awards and encourage you to continue getting those good projects into us. And we appreciate all the efforts that you've done in the past. And at this time, I'd like to turn everything over to Dr. Apini.
And I'll be 60 seconds. Number one, let's give Mrs. Hardy a round of applause. Absolutely fantastic ELP coordinator. Great job, Linda. And finally, my last 30 seconds. Secretary Hatch always believes there's no I in team. It takes a team, a group of dedicated executives to really help run this agency. And I'll be remiss if I don't, at this point, acknowledge these individuals. First, to my right, I see the Undersecretary of DEQ, Vince Sagnabine. Let's give Vince a round of applause. Next, as any good attorney, always in the background, Herman Robinson, DEQ Executive Counsel. Herman, stand and be recognized. One of our newer members, the Assistant Secretary for the Office of Environmental Compliance, Chance McNeely. Chance, stand and be recognized. Next to Chance is Tegan Treadway, the DEQ Assistant Secretary for the Office of Environmental Services, which is the permitting shop. Let's give Tegan a round of applause. What the public reads is so critical, and we are very honored to have Greg Langley, the DEQ Press Secretary and Press Director. Let's give Greg a round of applause. And ably assistant Greg, I see Emily over here. Emily, please stand. You're part of the communications team. Let's give Emily, who is, by the way, expected in July. And last but not least, she's not here, but Peggy really considers her the glue that keeps DEQ going. I'm referring to none other than her right hand, Marion Murgis, in her absentia. Let's give Marion a round of applause. And folks, this officially ends our program. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Louisiana. Thank you.
About 18 years ago, I started a project for my 150 students to be able to take them out and experience wetlands, immerse them into wetlands, and I just wanted them to be able to experience what we have surrounding us instead of having to read about it in books. And it became very popular very fast, and now 18 years later we work with about 16 different schools, and my students serve as the leaders, and they learn from experts and then go out and teach younger kids everything that they learn. So we have spoken to over 1.5 million people since we started the program, and we do all kinds of outreach events where my kids just love going out and teaching others of all ages, not just kids younger. We come to Baton Rouge for the Earth Day Festival that they do each year. We love that event, and just any chance that we get. We do a lot of science nights with all the elementary schools, and it's always the highlight of their years, where the kids can hold baby alligators and teach them about it, or hold a snake and teach them about it, and they're just turned into wonderful educators. It's great for conservation. It's great to bring attention to our wetland issues, but also it helps our kids learn how to be more comfortable sharing what they know, because I tell them you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't know how to communicate that intelligence, then it's all useless. So there's really a lot of positive things. I'm very excited about everything that we've done. I'm very excited that we've been involved with this program for 18 years, and we still can be recognized on a level like this by something that y'all are doing here.
Tell us a little bit about that recognition.
Well, we were honored a few years ago. The George Lucas Education Foundation, through Edutopia, honored us as one of the most innovative science groups in the nation, and they filmed a documentary on us, and Diane Sawyer chose us as one of the most effective student environmental groups in the nation. She did a documentary on us. We've been in this is nothing that was ever planned on. It just turns out that people listen when kids talk. And, when you put it in their hands, I always tell them I can go lay down under a table somewhere and let them handle the whole thing. When they talk, people of all ages listen to what they have to say. And trusting the students to be able to handle and interpret that information to everybody else, I think has just made the difference, because people everywhere that sees them loves them, and they want to know more about them, and when did this start, or how can I get my student involved, And so, when Diane Sawyer sends people down to film us and all this, and they get, this recordings back and video back of the way the kids respond, they're just like, who are these kids? What are y'all doing? What are you doing differently there? And really, it's just giving them the trust to be able to do this, because the kids are really, it's really amazing how much they're capable of when we give them the opportunity for it.
As chairman of the Senate Environmental Quality Committee, this is what I do. And the best part of my job, especially on awards day, is when we can award a group of young people like we have here from Destran, and that really care about their environment. And I'm going to ask them just to say a couple words about what they did. But it's the future right here. And they can make us as parents to do the right thing. I know my son, my 6-year-old, will from time to time, Dad, you need to put the seatbelt on. Y'all can make us do the right thing. So tell us a little bit about y'all's project.
Well, we go to elementary school science nights, and we teach all the elementary schools about animals, and we say how you can join wetland watchers.
And you are middle school.
Yep.
And you're going down to the elementary school.
Mm-hmm. We went to The one in Destrehan, the one in Mimosa, the one in Luling, and yeah, the one in Destrehan. That's in Destrehan.
Cool.
And we just taught them a little about.
So y'all are teaching
Yeah.
those that are younger than you about the environment, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, great. And what is it called? Tell them
called
what it is. Swamp Life,
Wetland Watchers.
Wetland Watchers.
Yep.
Today I think is an awesome day. And what makes it really special is that today celebrates the call of duty, and especially going beyond the call of duty. Every one of our environmental leadership program recipients are individuals, companies, businesses, large and small, schools. You saw kids in the 5th, 6th, 7th grades, universities, who have all challenged themselves that we will go above the call of duty. We will go above environmental regulations to really take care of our state. Some have invested money into pollution control equipment, down to kids who are picking litter off the streets because they believe in the whole motto that Louisiana is the sportsman's paradise, and we can have great environmental protection and great economic development in harmony.
What would you like people to take away from today?
That not only is DEQ doing its job of trying to promote pollution prevention in the community, we are recognizing people who are doing it on a voluntary basis. It's beyond regulations. They're doing these things above and beyond what's required of the regulations. And that's a great thing for Louisiana, that people are stepping up and doing things to make Louisiana a cleaner and better state.
What is something that the good people of Louisiana can do to pitch in and participate?
We are so excited, and look, we just feel that the bus is absolutely empty. We want to get everybody into the bus. Good corporate citizenship. I mean, that's the hallmark of a great community. And our companies here in Louisiana are demonstrating that on a daily basis. What we want to do is we want to invite them, if they visit our website, click on the Environmental Leadership Program button, they can immediately look at very simple criteria of being part of something special, going beyond the call of duty to make sure that Louisiana is a sportsman's paradise, not only for this generation, but for generations to come.
We have a website on the DEQ homepage. You scroll under programs and find Environmental Leadership Program, and we have a wealth of information there. We have enrollment forms for people, and it's very easy to enroll in our program. Once you have enrolled in the program, then you're eligible to submit your projects for recognition that we do on an annual basis. So we encourage the membership, and we encourage people out there, entities out there that are doing pollution prevention projects, that are doing things in the community to promote environmental awareness with our young people. We encourage them to get on out there and join on our membership, and we want to recognize them for their efforts.
Are there parameters or requirements to join?
Basically, just promote projects that are doing pollution prevention on a voluntary basis, because this is a voluntary program. And again, we have a partnership with the DEQ has a partnership with these members. We encourage them to submit projects on an annual basis, and we just ask them to continue to do the good things that they're doing.
Our actual name is a Committee of 100 for Economic Development Incorporated. We go by C100, and what we are is an organization comprised of business leaders throughout the state of Louisiana, multiple disciplines, multiple regions. We have a statewide spread, roughly 100 members in total. And we're going to cover a common core panel that's being sponsored by Exxon to address the issue of the issue regarding educational standards in K through 12 education in our state. It's obviously a key issue. People are well aware of it. This is an opportunity to hear from John White and Chaz Romer about the challenges they face and what we need to do as an organization to assist them in that effort.
Thank you, Mark, and really thank you to ExxonMobil for all of your support of high expectations for the kids of Louisiana over the last several years and generations past. And it's a great privilege to be here again with the Committee of 100, and I thank you so much. I'll be brief, but I'll share a couple of comments about where we are in this whole process. And I want to take us a little bit back to the roots of it. It's good, very good that Joe Savoy is here from UL, and I saw Sandra Woodley here as well, because one of my observations would be that for you as business people and for them as higher education administrators, our K-12 school system for way too long has been disconnected from the realities of what's necessary for our graduates to succeed in your environment. And I think that idea we need to continue coming back to. That is why we are here. We want the kids who are now 5 years old or 15 years old to go on and live a productive life as a member of the middle class in Louisiana, working for your companies, getting degrees in their institutions, And that's the essence of why we're here. And I think it's sometimes hard to connect why somebody who works in the petrochemical industry, or why someone who works in healthcare, or why someone who works in transportation, logistics, how does that connect? How does readiness for that world connect to kindergarten? And it's taken me a little bit of thinking about, and Mark, you talked about math, so I'm going to talk a little bit about math. It's taken me some thinking about why does math matter, to get to why does the Common Core matter, to get to why does fighting so hard for this matter. And I think the answer is because without it, we don't prepare our kids to be successful in your world. And I did some looking back on it, and as you said, Mark, I'm an English teacher, so this is a learning experience for me too, but I did some looking back on it. And I looked at what kids in Louisiana used to be required to learn, or what we used to have to teach kids in Louisiana in, say, 2nd grade. And then I looked at what they do in Massachusetts. And it was similar in some ways, and I'm talking about 5 years ago now. It was similar in some ways. Kids in kindergarten in Louisiana had to learn to count, in 2nd grade had to learn to count to 1,000. We had to teach every kid to count to 1,000. Now in Louisiana, it stopped there. That's what we did. We were required to teach 2nd graders to count to 1,000. In Massachusetts, they taught kids to count to 1,000, but also to do it by 5s, to do it by 10s, to do it by hundreds, to do it backwards, and to name the place value of every whole number between 0 and 1,000. So what's the difference? And what I realized is those kids in Massachusetts, they were weightlifting for their brains. They were doing gymnastics for their brains. Mathematics was making their brains stronger. They were understanding how do you take a large number and break it down. Our kids were just counting. They were understanding how you take a problem and take it apart and put it back together again. And so it was no surprise that when you got to division, their kids were more successful earlier at dividing big numbers into small wholes, into small parts, and putting them back together again. And then when you got to fractions, their kids understood why you had a fraction, a numerator and denominator, and they understood why you flipped them when you divide them. And then they understood why you balance equations, why you do one thing to one side of an equation, you have to do it to another side of the equation, and so on, because they were being taught the fundamentals of how to think through mathematics. Their brains were being stronger. They were learning how to think through complicated problems. So it made sense when Chaz was in his first term, when Paul Pastorek, my predecessor, was in this role, that the state adopted a national expectation, that the state got with other states across the country and said, we're going to no longer accept the idea that our kids will learn simply to count, that our kids will learn simply to memorize, that our kids will simply learn tricks in mathematics. Instead, we're going to do as the top state in the country has done and hold ourselves to a basic standard that is just as high, because if we can't do that, our kids won't learn fractions, they won't learn algebra, they won't learn trigonometry, and if they can't learn those basics of mathematics, they won't be ready to be employed at ExxonMobil or anywhere else in our state's 21st century economy. We are doing something to build the capacity of the future workforce of this state. And so now we've come upon a time where 5 years in, that being done in 2010, in the courts, in the legislature, we continue to battle. And I'm so thankful to Chaz for his leadership. I'm so thankful to Jay Guillot, who I know is here today as a business leader, but also has been a leader on the Bessie board, for what they have done to work through that process. And I think that there are legitimate concerns, and I know we've certainly talked about this at length, Chaz. There are legitimate concerns about the federal role in education. The federal government has been involved in education for 50 years in our country in a very aggressive way. Pat Cooper will well know it clutters up every school board office in this state with its rules and its mandates and its dictates. I know that federal involvement in your world presents the same kind of challenges. But I will tell you, of everything I've worked on, there has never been anything where states have flexed their muscle as they have in the development of these basic academic competencies. And so in spite of all of the politics and all of the noise, we've now come to a place where this state-developed initiative has been implemented by 70 school systems across the state of Louisiana, who have invested countless millions of dollars in new curriculum, who have invested thousands of hours in the professional development of their educators, who have educated parents. And last week or 2 weeks ago, 99% of kids in Louisiana, for the first time ever, going down to 8 years old, took a test that measures our state's performance and their academic skills on the same level as the top states in the country. And that in and of itself, in my view, for a state that is ranked between 47th and 49th in America, that we took the same test, that we held ourselves to the same standard, that we put ourselves on a level playing field with the top states in America, is an accomplishment unto itself. Now I'll say one thing and then I'll pass to Chaz. There's a kind of debate in the newspapers about whether or not you're for Common Core or you're against Common Core. And I will say this, I think we need to get past that. We need a set of standards that Louisianans have embraced. We need a test that measures that Louisianans say is their test. I would say actually these standards have been Louisiana standards. I would say the test we took last week was a Louisiana test. And we have to commit to ensuring that our standards and our tests are Louisiana-based. The debate you're going to hear in the legislative session upcoming is actually not about are you for national standards or are you for Louisiana standards. I don't speak to a person who doesn't want Louisiana standards and a Louisiana test. The debate is about how you approach it and how you get there. And there are now competing visions in this final stage of our implementation of these high expectations. There are competing visions for how you get to Louisiana standards and a Louisiana test. One vision that's been articulated is you take the last 5 years worth of work and you throw it out the window. You make the teachers go back to the drawing board. You put the state through the same transition process. You put parents into another state where they're wondering what is it that their kids are going to learn and to have to learn a new curriculum. There's another vision that says, let's make sure we monitor our standards. Let's make sure we review them. Let's make sure the professional educators take a look at them and assure our populace that they are appropriate for Louisiana. And so you're not going to hear in the session a question as to whether or not we disagree on Common Core or whether or not we disagree on high standards. I think we all agree we want high standards. I think we all agree we want Louisiana standards. The debate that is currently on the front pages of our papers is really about how you get there. Do you get there in a responsible way that is fair to educators and keeps us steady? Or do you get there in a political way that throws all of their hard work over the last 5 years out the door? I believe we can have standards that get our kids ready for your workplaces. I believe we can do it in a way that is unique to Louisiana. And I believe we must do it in a way that is fair to teachers and respects how hard they've worked over the last 5 years to get us where we are today.
Once again, John stole my speech, so I'll just take a few minutes. I know the time is relatively short, and I think John laid out a vision of why we're here fairly clearly. I would only add a few things. I have an eighth grader and a sixth grader. And if I regret anything over the past 2 years, it's really the amount of politics that have been involved in this education debate. And I'm not going to give commentary on that politics, but there's been a great deal of it. The real thrust of the matter is, are we going to prepare our children, which in this case happens to be my own kids, are we going to prepare our kids to compete with the rest of the world? It's a pretty simple question. Now, I hope that my kids choose to live in Louisiana. I've chosen to live here. I grew up in Bossier City, Louisiana. I've lived the last 15 years in Baton Rouge, and that's been a choice I've made. But I know the world is competitive. I know finding quality jobs is often a difficult task. I know high-paying, high-skilled jobs take you around the world. And therefore, for me to definitely assume my children will be here is a wrong assumption. Now, I'd like two things. One, I'd like to prepare my students, my kids, to compete anywhere. Whether they work for ExxonMobil here in Baton Rouge or whether they work for ExxonMobil in Europe or somewhere else. I appreciate that job offer, by the way. I want my kids to be prepared to compete. More importantly, is I want our state to be able to compete for the quality of jobs that you would want your own child to have. I want our state to be able to compete. In order for our state to compete, we have to have an educated workforce, a workforce that is well trained and as well prepared as any workforce in America. Now, I'll tell you what Common Core is. Common Core is not some federal mandate from the federal government. Common Core is simply a higher standard. It's a higher level of expectation that we're going to hold ourselves and our schools and our students to. And let's make no debate about it. It is no debate. These standards, while more difficult, okay, these standards, while more difficult, are higher standards, period. You hear people try to dismiss the math because it's a new math. I didn't learn math that way, is what you hear. Well, there's an idea that we all have to become comfortable with. And that idea is that I expect more from my kids than I did of myself. I expect more of my kids than I did of myself. And that may mean we raise expectations for our own kids. It may mean it's sometimes difficult when they bring homework to me with which I'm not familiar. I've learned more math in my daughter's 8th grade math class than I did in many years of college. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. We have a great state. One thing I've enjoyed about this job is being able to travel the state and actually visit schools. I'm fascinated by the schools that kids go to. You can go to urban Baton Rouge and see a set of circumstances that are very challenging. But I can drive you to rural Louisiana where you round the bend and you find a school sitting in the middle of a cotton field. And I know they face a whole different set of challenges than does urban Baton Rouge. That's why it's important that we establish a standard that's applicable to every child in this state, whether they're sitting in downtown Baton Rouge or Benton, Louisiana. That the student that's sitting in Benton, Louisiana is held to the same expectation as a student that is sitting in Baton Rouge. But more importantly, whether you're sitting in Benton or Bastrop or Baton Rouge, you're being held to a standard that is the same standard as a student that's in North Carolina or Massachusetts or Tennessee. That if my child is in 6th grade in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, my child is prepared to compete with another student anywhere in America and anywhere in this world that is of the same age. It ought not be political. It's a pretty simple argument. Now, I do regret the politics. I do not regret the fight. I'm fighting for my kids. I appreciate ExxonMobil putting this together today, and I'll answer, and John will answer any easy questions. Thank you.
And I'm not the most I don't necessarily carry this banner for everyone, but for me personally, it's a great opportunity face to face to get to tell you guys, thank you so much for the fight you just talked about. I've been a little embarrassed. I've been extremely embarrassed and sorry that you guys have had to fight the fight you have. And this is, I think, by and large, a group of leaders that really supports what you've done and really appreciates it and hopes that, you know, there's never a day when you want to throw in the towel. I think you've rounded a really significant bend. There's an opportunity to really take it from there. Thanks for everything that you've done, is all I wanted to say. So.
Thanks. Chaz took me aside before this. He wanted a softball question, but I'm not going to give him one. But first, let me say this. Like Ray, thank you for your persistence. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for all that you've done to stand for us, okay, in this state, in a very difficult political climate. And we're very, very thankful to you. The other thing I'd say, very thankful to both of you, is that you had the foresight to look and see and listen to even those that had differing viewpoints than yours, okay? And with that, learned that maybe there are some legitimate things that need to be changed about standards, legitimate things that teachers had concerns about that you addressed. And I really want this group to know that has been significant. There has been significant listening going on at the DOE and Bessie about legitimate concerns about the standards, and you've addressed those to build Louisiana standards. So that leads to the question. So here's the question. Chaz, you talked a lot about your children and the possibility of them competing around the world. I agree with that. But let me ask you to take it and say, talk to the parents and tell us your thoughts about this as to what these standards do for a parent that their child's going to live in the same place. Okay, they're going to not be traveling a lot. What do these standards mean to that child and that parent? And then, John, I'd like for you to address the issue of teachers. And 2/3 of teachers nationally embrace these standards. My question to you is, why do they embrace these standards?
It's interesting. It's anecdotal, but I think it's worth mentioning. I know everyone in this room understands this, but my firm owns some multifamily housing apartments, and our maintenance man who we pay a nice salary to, has a maintenance manual that's probably 600 pages long. Okay, filled with mathematics and computations, and he has to attest to the bankers. He has to interface with the bankers to guarantee that the maintenance that we're supposed to be maintaining on the building is being done properly. I've gone to Klein Peter Dairy recently and talked to the person that runs the dairy. Almost 90% of the work that person's doing is on a computer. It's not just with a wrench and a hammer and basic tools. So every job now, whether you consider it to be a blue-collar job or whether you consider it to be a white-collar job, every job has become more sophisticated. Every job requires a higher level of understanding than our previous standards. And these standards that we have in place now require critical thinking. And I'll give you a real small example. I don't want to take too much time. But let's get out of math for a second. Let's go to English language arts. In our old test, an English language arts question may be, you read the following paragraph and you're asked the question, what color are Johnny's shoes? And then you had a choice, black, yellow, red, green, and you bubbled in red, okay? Today's question would be more like this. Read the following paragraph. What color shoes is Johnny wearing, and why did he choose that color? Okay, it's a very subtle difference, but not only do you have to know the basic information, you have to be able to think, apply critical thinking skills to a set of information, and decipher an answer. It's just a more sophisticated level of thinking. It's one that we need to expect every child to be able to do, whether they're going to go be a brain surgeon or whether they're going to be something less than that in terms of the degree that you have ultimately in education. But it applies to everyone. And that's why I think it would be applicable not only to my children, but to everybody's child.
There's an interesting study that LSU actually put out today. It would be worth taking a look at if you haven't already, Dr. Roseman. It basically says that the standards themselves are widely supported. The idea of states sharing a common expectation for their students are widely supported. That the word Common Core is not a popular word, and that the reason it's not is because of partisan rhetoric. And it's a very scientific study by LSU of that chain of logic. Now, that's not to say that there aren't legitimate concerns and there aren't very widely diverse viewpoints held by teachers. But essentially, teachers support this because I think teachers want to be the champions for their children. They want to let their children go and achieve big, big things. And when you're talking about an expectation that kids will think independently, it is just a much better way of living your life, of seeing kids grow, than of the expectation that they're going to fill out bubbles all day. And bubble tests had their day and age. They were helpful to us in identifying that African American kids were not being educated as well as others. They were helpful to us in identifying that kids in one parish versus another weren't being educated as well as others. But bubble tests aren't really what working in the 21st century environment is about. And teachers know that. They want to see their kids demonstrate something bigger and better than that, and that's why, by and large, they support these expectations.
The New York State, 50 years ago and 60 years ago, had a wonderful organization called the Board of Regents, and they set the standards. And when we graduated from various levels, we had to take a Regents exam, no matter whether you were in a parochial school or public school or whatever, private school. And they were very respected exams. So the state set the standards. And by the way, there was no U.S. Department of Education at that time. So I wish you well, and the more you can disabuse the concept that you're linked or involved with the federal bureaucracy, the more success I think you're going to have. Good luck.
I'll just comment on that real quick. I think, first of all, thank you for your kind words. I think that's good advice. Let's just talk a little bit about this issue. There's a lot of guarantees and such that I've made, that others have made, that there is no federal involvement in this. But I understand that the suspicions abound. Senator Vitter this week passed an amendment to the Senate's budget resolution that would actually call for there to be no ability of the federal government to coerce anyone into using or to even to incent anyone into using the Common Core state standards. If that gives people comfort that we're moving in the right direction, good. We are supporting the idea of educators in Louisiana with a professional review process, reviewing, modifying, adjusting, making sure that the standards are wholly owned and Louisiana operated. Good. The one thing I can't support, really the one thing above all else, is the idea that we would take all of this work and throw it away for a purpose that I have yet to hear coherently or rationally articulated. Educators in our state have put in 5 years worth of work. Parents, students trying to achieve big things. We just can't support starting from scratch and putting our state through this all over again. But whatever assurance we need to provide that this has been, will continue to be, a Louisiana decision governed by Louisianans, we are prepared to do.
Committee of 100 member ExxonMobil asked for this very special time to bring this message to members of the Committee 100 who are attending today. Because we did have a large number of you in attendance, we wanted to deliver this message because there will be challenges this legislative session. John, Chaz, thank you for all the work that you do. Keep it up, guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been the Louisiana Hometown Network. If you have questions about this program, call us at Hometown Productions.